Hello, everyone, and welcome to the weekly Wisdom with the Web guys. This is the first one, so bear with us today. Today, I have been joined by the lovely Sheena Wyatt, and Sheena Wyatt owns a company called Kapow, which she will introduce herself in a moment. Today's topic is going to be about networking, not any specific networking group as such, but sort of networking overall. And for people who know, Sheena already knows that she is the absolute powerhouse of networking and is the go-to person. So without further ado, hi Sheena, welcome. Thank you for joining me, and please tell the world who you are.
Thank you, Brian. It's an absolute pleasure. I'm honoured to be the first. Yes, indeed, my name is Sheena White. I run Kapow, which is a business coaching program. So I work with all kinds of people all over the world, from small business owners to racing driving teams to CEOs, basically just helping them to keep focused, keep motivated, but most importantly, to keep true to their brand and their business, particularly now as we're all trying to work out how this all works in a brave COVID-based world.
Absolutely, yeah, no, absolutely. So I'm grateful for you joining me today because wanted to talk about it's sort of networking overall, and I'll be interested to hearing, and I'm sure that the people who are watching this will be interested to hear your sort of journey in networking that's left it to where you are today.
It is an interesting one because I was not super keen on networking when I first started. I kind of got thrown into it in a way that I think quite a lot of us do. I'd recently moved to a new area in the UK, so I didn't know anybody on a personal level, and I just started a new business and I didn't have any customers, and I just thought, oh, where am I going to find them? And this was 11, 12 years ago, and I looked at networking options. I planned out a month of trying different organizations out, different types of meetings, plugged on through, found a couple that worked. There were a couple that just were not for me at all. But I was still really reluctant. And I think it took me about that first year to actually understand that the reluctance was on my part, not on the networking part. Once I got past those mental barriers of not being worried about people, accepting you, if you like, but looking at it as a relationship building and opportunity creating platform rather than trying to get people to buy from me straight away. Whole thing changed and I haven't looked back.
No, absolutely. I think that's very interesting. I think because as we just discussed before we came on here, I know of a lot of business owners who doesn't go anywhere near networking. So, and I think most who tries and never come back is because of what you just described, that sort of uneasy feeling. How much, I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot here. Sort of, if you sort of look back to the last 3 or 4 years, how many of your leads that you generate on average, sort of through the month, how many of those do you think comes from your networking activity?
Well, I can actually quite categorically say over 80% of my leads come from networking. And I think that is most particularly because I'm very, very visible. And that is a really, really important part of networking. You can't be a shrinking violet and network. You've got to be able to get out there. And that doesn't mean that you have to be wild, wacky, in your face. And that's not what I'm talking about. You have to be visible. You have to be visible. People need to know where you're going to be, and then you need to be there regularly. And that's really why so much of my business, so many of my new clients come through networking events, is because I show up regularly. But also the really important bit that so many people get wrong when they're starting out, particularly in networking, is I follow up religiously. I make sure that I'm, making that connection just go that little bit further, even if it's just connecting with somebody through social media to begin with. It's so important to just make sure that you get that extra step in so that you can continue to build that relationship past the initial introduction.
I think that's a fantastic point you raised in there. You know, the follow up. I think a lot of people put far too little emphasis on that. I heard a foresight at a meeting a while ago that it's actually not until that you are in contact with someone who you class as a lead between 8 and 12 times that they make the decision to buy from you. So So that's a lot of time you need to be in contact with people. So, I think a lot of people maybe make the mistake of giving up after one or two times. So
Yeah.
I agree with you. Turning up to the networking events, meeting the same people again and again, that counts towards those 8 to 12 times, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And it's also a really essential part of developing and building your credibility, in the longevity of that relationship. And the more that you put into also helping other people grow their networks. So instead of it being, back in the day when we were networking face to face, I used to call it business card collecting. It's not about that. It's about thinking, who do I know that this person might benefit from knowing as well? How can I make those introductions, not just to grow my own network, but to put like-minded people together who might need each other's services or just have something in common. And that's how you and I got to know each other, is through people making those connections.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you find balancing now obviously with generating 8% of all your leads through the networking, which is fantastic? How do you manage the relationship between spending time networking, generating the leads, and still running your business and the other things that you need to do in running your business? Because I could imagine with it being such a heavy part of your lead generation that you're almost quite in danger of it taking over too much time away from the business. How do you manage that?
You're right. I have actually found that a lot easier since we've moved into the online world. When I was networking face to face, it was just a huge amount of time away from running my business. But now all of that's gone, I actually find it a lot easier. And I think that it's very much about mindset and thinking networking is about building my business. So I have to prioritize the networking in order to do that, and then make sure that the carrying out the business fits around it. So it was a lot of people at the beginning of networking online went a bit nuts, and they were going to 4, 5, 6 online networking events every day. That's just not sustainable on a lot of different levels. I will build into my working week at least 1, if not 2 days where I'm doing no networking at all. But I make sure that I'm networking at least twice a week, if not 3 times a week. But I also make sure that I'm looking at opportunities to create new relationships by looking at different places to network. And I always look for opportunities to speak at events, to go ahead and extend that exposure, extend the ability to go and, put myself and my business in front of a new audience, so that it's not static. Although being visible is really important, making sure that you are putting yourself in front of new audiences is equally important. And then it's balancing that all together. I very much keep Mondays free. For example, don't network on a Monday, that mostly, to do that. And if I do, then I make sure that, the sort of stuff fits around it, so that I feel like the networking is part of how I run my business and not something that sits alongside it. It needs to be integrated to make it feel like it's part of getting from A to B.
I think, and that's great. And I think that's very helpful. And I think for a lot of business owners who are perhaps struggling with the concept of finding time to network, it's interesting to hear that and how that can be structured from someone like yourself. I think that's very useful. You just touched briefly. Now, obviously, we've moved into this brave world of doing everything online, like this conversation you and I are having right now. It's sort of quite interesting because I can see that some networking organizers are starting to sort of branch out internationally, and I find that really quite interesting. I know, like yourself, for us, it doesn't really matter in the world where our customer sits. We can deal with customers all over the world. So I'm really quite sort of, what do you call it, excited about the opportunity of networking with people across the world. So I have a bit of an audience in America, and I would love to see them in the networking sort of world in the UK. I don't know how you feel about that.
I think that the networking online has opened up so many opportunities. It's absolutely fantastic. Just for me, from a UK level, is, the amount of time I was spending in the car going to and from physical meetings, and how many of those I was going to. I hadn't realized how restricting that actually was for my business until it stopped. Because when that stopped, all of a sudden I had the opportunity to go anywhere I wanted. And I've been able to go and speak at networking events in Scotland. I've been able to go and speak at networking events in Kent. I've been able to go and speak at networking events in Wales. Now, in the face-to-face world, I would never have done that. That would have taken days out of my business, the, overnight cost, all of that kind of thing. Now I've got the opportunity to speak at events in Australia, events in America, events in Ireland. And absolutely, I think that when you are looking at networking for your business, think big, think outside the box, think, what is it that I offer? Is it geographically restricted? Okay, then you've got a different challenge. But if it isn't geographically restricted, and what you offer, what I offer, it's completely accessible to anybody, anywhere in the world, time dependent. So, get out there and explore it. Instead of thinking, I would never do business with somebody in Australia, why not go and find an online networking event and just see what happens? The worst case that's going to happen is that you spend your meeting fee and you spend a little bit of time and you don't make a connection that really works for your business. But the best case scenario is that you get to start to expand your client base and be truly global, right from the comfort of your own home office. I mean, it's amazing.
I couldn't agree more. I think it's amazing. When I first started in the networking circuit and I started doing, foresights and doing presentations to people, I sort of always had this thing in the back of my mind saying, wouldn't it be fantastic if I did this one day to an audience in New York? And now actually that's not far-fetched, because with everything being online, that could quite possibly happen, and
yeah,
hopefully soon, and it will. So it's amazing stuff. So just to sort of to finish things up, because we don't want to take too much of yours and anyone else's time, where do you think networking is going to go in the next year or so? What's it going to change?
Oh, that's a good one. Where do I think networking is going to go? I think that online networking is going to become very focused. I think that one of the terms that I use about that is niche groups. So when you think about online networking at the moment for business, there's a really broad range of different organizations and different kinds of meetings that you can go to, and that's fantastic. But I think the future of online networking is allowing people to accelerate that meet, like, know, and trust process by networking in groups where you share a similar interest or a passion. You and I share an interest in racing. So, we often network together at a group that is focused on people who have an interest in motorsport or cars or classic cars. Now, although some people might look at, listen to that and think, well, what's the point in that, Sheena? Your business doesn't have anything to do with cars or motorsport or planes or any. No, it doesn't. But what people, I think, will start to understand is that that's not actually what's important. Whether or not it is a niche interest or it's a niche term for the group, it's still business owners looking to grow their business. And if you already share a passion or an interest, you accelerate that first few steps of getting to know each other because you've got something in common. So I think going forward over the next sort of 12 to 18 months, I think we'll see more specialist / niche groups coming into play that allow people to do exactly that and really accelerate the process of getting to know each other, finding out how you could potentially work together, and eventually doing business together.
Fantastic. I agree, and I think that's very useful and very interesting. It's going to be interesting to see. So let's see what the world brings. Maybe we can do this again in 18 months to 2 years to see how it has moved since our first chat about this. Listen, Sheena, I want to thank you very much for taking the time out in your busy schedule to do this with me. I hope you've all enjoyed this little chat I've had with Sheena. We're going to obviously put all Sheena's details into this, so if you want to have a private chat with Sheena about networking so she can share her wisdom with you directly, then we're going to obviously add the opportunity for you to contact her directly. Please like and share this video to as many people as you can. And thank you for watching us. Thank you, Sheena, very much for your time. And I shall see you on the networking circuit very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure, Brian. Thank you very much.